Well, okay, other people may be coming along as well. And Kathleen's trying to connect to the audio on this, and that's fine. Or she's trying to get connection. And so we'll see what happens. And do remember that you'll be sent a reminder about the replay if you want to listen to this. And please understand, all these mini classes are free, no charge, and also the gathering is free, and that's every Wednesday on Facebook. And with the gathering, I won't be charging any kind of money. There's Sue. Yay. She was hidden.
Yeah.
And then with the gathering, I'll be talking a lot, hopefully coherently, and then about different topics on spirituality, healing, mostly healing. And then at the very and I'll work with a couple people during gathering. It's not really a healing circle, even though it's been turning into that at times. It's not a healing circle. And at the very end of it, I'll give a very, very short meditation. Hopefully it's powerful enough for y'all that if you pursue it in your free time for any amount of time during the day or whatever, or once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, you'll get something out of it from within yourselves. And then also is the healing circles, which are free. And I work with as many people as possible, but they're everything I do in healing in public groups, I do not talk about emotional stuff. I just won't go there because it's personal to people, and I don't want to throw it out to everyone. It's no one else's concern or business. And it's not for advice from other people or what to do or anything else. It's just what I'm coming across with. And just, get your own group if you want to give advice. And so other than that, then there's the courses. And the courses are incredible. What we're going to do today, starting the course on the 30th, is initiate your intuition. And that's for, it's a 4-day course, an hour and a half a day. I do charge for it. That's available on the website, it's the information of it. And it will be more information coming out as I get with Lynn either today or tomorrow on that. And but it's about your intuition, which to me means inner teaching, and how you're going to be able to utilize it in your life so much easier than what you think it is. And it'll help you to develop it. I'll give plenty of exercises in the 4 days. I'll answer questions. It'll be a pretty free format. And when I do get into my talkings, give me space. And then when I'm finished with each topic that I'm talking about or relating, then you'll feel free to ask questions, and then we'll get into a lot of information about it. It's a dynamic course. All the courses are really dynamic and get pretty esoteric in some sense, but with the ability to understand. Hey, there's Kathleen. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for being here, Kathleen. I appreciate it. And let's see here. So I do highly recommend the course coming up on the 30th of November. It's for 4 days, an hour and a half each day. And supposedly there'll be a 5 or 7 minute break during each course, day of the course. And then there's the next healing circle coming up on November 24th. Take advantage of that. It's free. And let me see here. The appointments, I am available for appointments. What you're getting here and in the gathering and the healing circles in general are what people and I refer to as quickie healings. And they'll last for 5 minutes in your life, or they'll last for the rest of your life, or anything in between. I don't know. It's not up to me. I pretty much leave it to the old man or old woman upstairs, and I say, take over, boss. And the appointments are very much more in depth, and I get to work with a person. So if you should experience something happening or find out later that something has happened in your body, then, great. Um, and I'm fine with that. But there's a lot more that's in an appointment if you choose to make one with me. Understand that with a lot of the free things coming up and that I have been giving, donations are really important for you. And you can do that at the website where it says either gifting. I don't really call them donations because I'm not a 501c3. So please understand that. And I call it gifting or contributing or whatever you want to call it, supporting. It not only supports me and what we're doing here and other venues, but it also supports other people as as excess comes in. Please understand that it helps others as well, and I use it for that as freely as I can. And I do know also that as you give, there's something greater that's given to you as you give from your heart. Please do keep that in mind. Very important for you and for other people as well. And it's nice also when you do say have a healing. You may notice something that has changed in your life, or you'll notice in these quickie healings something has changed in your life, or you'll notice that something is changing. And I'm not going to snap my finger and say healed. And there has to be understanding to it. There's meaning to it. There's a depth to it. And please keep that in mind. And it keeps, and it also pertains to your depth in it as well. And trusting something that's happening or will happen. And please do keep that in mind.
Okay.
All right. So other than that,
Okay, I'll 3 today.
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I thought someone was saying something.
Kathleen needs to mute herself.
Thank you. Sorry. I thought I was.
All right. All right. And let me see here. Every Wednesday is a gathering. So please do take advantage of that. Lynn can't be on right now, I don't think. She's going to be off and on with her internet connection. All right. What else? When we're working with healing, please understand that healing comes from the heart. And that's the only important thing. And it has to be from a desire within us to tap into that. That's what initiates healing, is coming from the heart. And I remember when I first started working with all this stuff, and when it was shown to me that it's available by the old man or old woman upstairs, I felt so bad for these people. And that was the initiatory act with doing it. My first experience of it, though, and someone asked me a question, when did you first start? What was the first experience of healing? And I gave some story about it. But I think the real experience, or the besides the 5.5 hour dream I had about it, which wasn't a dream, it was a showing and a participation. The first real earthly experience I had was I was downstairs in a dining hall in my order. It was in California, and people, they would say a prayer first for the food, and I put my hands over the food, not knowing what prayer was, what blessing was, or anything else. I had no conception. I was brought up Jewish. I never knew all this stuff, about Christianity or Buddhism or anything else, Gnosticism. I knew nothing. And so I was just following along with people, and they were saying something, oh, let this food, be nourishing for the body. And I said, whoa, I like that. So I imagined the food being nourishing for my body. And as my hands were over the food, and some people didn't have it like that. They put their hands over the food or on the sides or in their laps or whatever with their heads down, eyes closed. And so my hands are over the food, actually believing that this, if it were true that that could happen, then great, I want it to happen. I want the food to be nourishing for me. So my hands are over the food, and then all of a sudden in my head and with my eyes open, I saw light hands coming out and going into the food and actually fulfilling that desire. So that was my real first worldly experience of it all. And I totally trusted that. Hey, Jackie Sloan, good to see you. Thanks for being here. And Su Xian, yay. Love it, love it, love it. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So here we are having the availability to actually have that happen. And it's practicing other dynamics to make that more whole within us with the healing. And there's actually spiritual hands, our spiritual body, that has spiritual hands coming out of us that's actually doing everything. And it's from the intent of the heart that initiates that desire, that fire for that to happen and to extend forth. And if we see someone hurting, I know in my life, if I see someone hurting, if I really get rid of all the defenses and all the ego and all this other stuff that isn't in application of the divinity, if I get rid of all that stuff and go toward that application of the divinity and saying, okay, boss, I know you exist. What are you going to do about this? How can you help this person? And it's through that desire that it gets to do it. And we're taking ourselves out of the way. And the more we practice that, there's a greater desire that develops, a greater need to help someone or even help ourselves. Because not only is healing for other people, it's for ourselves as well. And according to our need inside of feeling hurt for someone that's not well, it's touching something within us, and we're allowing it to do it. It being the godliness, the divinity, the source, the nameless one, whatever we want to call it, it doesn't care. But we're tapping into that and saying, hey, take care of this, do this. This is what initiates that fire to come forth and to serve. That's how we're serving. And then we get to either apply it for ourselves or other people, whatever's necessary. And then trusting it, knowing it's all healing is knowing and accepting. That's all healing is nothing more. Then we get to see these great miracles happen. It was just like my time when I was just describing about putting my hands over the food. I thought this was so neat. I put my whole attention into those, not knowing that there were spiritual fingers in me or spiritual hand in me or spiritual body in me, not realizing that I had heard about it, but I didn't know that. And I had no idea what that meant. I had no spirituality training prior to that. I heard a couple people talk a couple times, and that was all. But I trusted, I really liked the idea that, okay, this food is going to help me to feel better in my life. And it was going to be made even more pure than what we perceive the purity of food. I remember my main teacher, Father Paul, he would always say, I don't care if he'd yell at us all the time in lectures and stuff. He says, I don't care if you are out in the desert and all you have is a brick. If you eat that, it's going to nourish you and help you to grow. If you trust it enough, if you accept it enough, if you believed it enough, if you lived it. So we can do these things through desire. And that's what initiates a greater healing or more of the spiritual perfection to blend into the physical perception and manifestation. We have the capability of these things, and that's what's important to find out, because our place is to recognize the true spirituality, which is a blending of earth and heaven. There can't be spirituality otherwise. It's not possible. Not possible. We're here for a purpose. We're here to get to know ourselves. There's no other rhyme or reason for so-called reincarnation, as you might call it or refer to it, except to get to know ourselves. There's no other way. There's no other reason for it. The whole purpose is to get to know ourselves. So that's the blending in getting to know ourselves here, and not getting bent out of shape over emotional dilemmas or dramas or traumas. The purpose of us being here, even in this class, is to help to get to know ourselves. And we're coming from the heart. That's what initiates healing, is coming from the heart. And it's being impartial without, looking at it and what's happening. It's being impartial, not cold, but impartial by being observant, by wondering what's happening. Then we get to see the manifestation of it. The more we can detach ourselves from wanting the identifications of seeing what's happening, why, and trying to figure it out, the more we can detach from that and trusting the godliness, the divinity within to do it. That's how it happens. That's how it works. It's separating ourselves from us and going to it. Then we get to see the manifestation of it in other people or ourselves. Otherwise, we're involved. We're trying to control. And we want to kind of veer away from that control. Another dynamic I want to briefly mention: when we're working, say, with another person, we don't necessarily want to get sucked into having someone know everything we're doing. We don't need to be super friends with them, because we're going to that source within to do the healing. We want to stay out of that to some degree, and where they're not in control of what's happening. If you're working on someone, say an arm or whatever, and in other classes I describe this, when we're working on someone, say, that has an injured arm, and because they just told us their arm hurts, so we're going to touch or non-touch, it doesn't matter, and we're going to wonder about it. And then we're going to start to get into trying to understand. Then all of a sudden they say, oh, also my neck hurts over here. And then like they're expecting you to go over here. Or my knee hurts. And also try to get that when you're done with this, or if before you finish, my knee's hurting right now. They're going to try to control the situation. What I do is I say, when I'm finished with this, but try to go within yourself to recognize if there's something happening within yourselves that will take their mind off of other situations in their body. Otherwise, they're in charge. And we don't want that. We want God to be in charge. And we want to keep our focus. That's what's important. You can call it divinity, you can call it source, you can call it whatever, the nameless one, whatever. It doesn't care. But we want to focus on that and work with one thing at a time until we feel the reprieve, until we perceive the reprieve within that person. Please keep that in mind. Please do keep that in mind. Don't let them help you. Don't let them direct you. Don't let them tell you. Give them, if necessary, give them a direction to, while they're starting to get into that, uh, give them a direction to focus on their breath. This way it'll get them out of their head. Or to focus on a color or something, a distraction from their wild turkey mind or chicken mind. Give them a direction. Let them know you're in charge when you're giving them the direction. We want to do those kinds of things because otherwise they're just expecting, all right, snap your finger and heal me. I want to go back to watching my TV or something. And we don't necessarily want to contribute to that kind of life. We want to come from our heart. We're not a part of that world where, hey, coming over or pray for me, and because I got stuff to do today. We don't want to go there. What we're doing is as we're working with someone or praying for someone, we're going within ourselves. That's life-changing, literally life-changing. That's where we want to come from. That's what's most important, and the only thing that's really important. We're letting the divinity, the godliness, the source, the nameless one, to do something within that person. And it's happening at the same time within us. I hope this makes sense for everyone. So please, any questions so far that I can try to answer about any of this stuff? Please, anyone. Jean, please. Anything?
About the receptivity of the person that you're working with.
Yes.
I work on people all the time, and I find, from our perspective, it is the body tells me what it needs.
Yes.
And there are people that are more receptive, that when I do adjust them, there is a change that happens, and others that aren't. So that helps then, what you were saying about the breathing, to get them into the body so they're not resisting, or
yes.
in a place where they don't know, they're not sure.
Yes. And it's not only getting them into the body, but it has a multi-purpose, and I'll explain in a moment. But it's also helping to know that they don't know anything, that they're not doing anything. And because they're going to a different place, it's almost like they're wondering instead of participating. When someone's participating, they're distracting you. They're distracting themselves purposely, not to be healed. And there's a greater healing that can happen as they participate in not knowing, because then they're being open.
Right. Good, thanks.
And what was the first part of your question? Please, if you can remember.
Well, just, people come in all stages, they have this idea that, the problem they have is who they are, rather than it's something that they've created or they've listened to and have taken on to be something to keep them a victim or from growing.
Yeah.
And, it's what you said is to quiet their mind so they feel just peaceful. So the breathing helps. Are there any other techniques that might?
Yes, either breathing or have them wonder about the furthest sound they can hear.
Oh, that's good.
And then have them eventually go to the next closest sound and then the next closest sound, and the next, until they concentrate it within themselves.
Oh, great. That's great.
And not trying to figure it out. Tell them, don't figure it out, just listen.
Super. Because I do
Yeah.
have a radio and I, play peaceful music and I play it really low so
That's
that
nice.
they have to, quiet to hear it. But I
Yes.
like that progression. That's
Yes. And it helps them to go within themselves.
Mm.
This is a great tool for everyone. It helps them, even when you're not working with people that people know about, even in your own prayers. Imagine telling them that, even though they're not there or you're not talking to them, but imagine that when you're working with a person, to image in action, that's what imagination means. Watch them focus on a sound, and then watch them focus after you imagine that they're imagining that sound. Then watch them begin to wonder inside themselves without coming up with answers or resistances or anything. Use your imagination. That will develop
Mm.
not only in them, unbeknownst to them, but it'll help them come back to a greater reality.
Yeah, that's what we want.
And it helps us at the same time,
Mm. Mhm.
because we're also participating in that.
Right. Because that is the basis of my profession, is that whatever it is that's interfering in the brain and nervous system is so there's less life.
Yes.
And so when we can remove that, the person's potential to be whole is so much greater.
Yes. Not only is there less life, it's a denser life.
Oh, yeah.
So what we're doing is breaking that consciousness within
That's
them and within us too.
Mm. Cool.
As much as we think that we don't have a dense life, we do.
Sure.
In our consciousness.
Mhm.
And because we have dilemmas, dramas, and traumas in life, there's no one who's exempt from that. And that brings us into the density, which is, or brings us into being subjective to the mass mind. This way, as we practice these things, we're becoming more objective,
Right. Cool.
and which is more openness, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Please, does anyone have any questions about that? Anything I can try to explain? Sue?
Can you recommend they do that when you're not there? If they become panicked or something?
Yes, yes. And when I do my prayer work for people at times, for some people, say if someone's has a lot of anxiety or worry or fear or panicky, I'll watch them within myself. First, I have to get myself calm. So I'll sit there, and what I'll do is I'll start perceiving them as I sit there. I'll start perceiving them in a calmer state, and hearing something or seeing something inside themselves. I'll watch them hearing something or seeing something inside themselves and wondering what it is. And in that wonderment moment, then they're calm. They're calm. They might not remember it, but I'll watch them inside myself having that experience. And that's what's going to influence them to have that experience. Also, that's what I've used on that person, Lori, that we've worked with. And it's had effect.
Mhm.
Because I know the emanations, the morphic fields that come forth from us affect people far and wide,
Mhm.
near and far. I know that. That's why long distance, what people call long distance healing works. There really is no separation in time and space. It's right here and now, but it's affecting them immediately. And when we pray for someone, there's going to be an effective moment in their life that it's going to happen to them because I trust it. I know it. That's all healing is.
Okay, so
Please, does that make sense, Sue?
So you're praying for it and you're doing kind of a session at your place. But what do you tell her to do when the panic arrives? I mean, it's 2 different times.
What I do is, say if I'm in conversation with her.
No, you're not with her at all. Say
Oh,
it's in the night. You're far away.
all right. So what I'm telling her, mental body and physical body and emotional body is to hear something, see something, not knowing what it is. And there's no choice but to stop and to wonder about that in them.
Okay. So that's like self-care. Can I say
Yes.
self?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Good questions. Good questions. Please, anyone else before we go on here?
I put my question in the chat.
Oh, let me see if I can find this here. I don't see it. Let me see if I can find more chat here. Where would chat be?
Put your cursor all the way down to the bottom of the screen
Okay.
and they'll all pop up.
All I have is mute, stop video, security, participants, share screen, reactions,
Ah, I have chat.
and
I'll
there's
read it to you,
more.
Mark.
Okay, please.
Mark, you said our purpose on this plane is to get to know ourselves. What do you think of the purpose of being for spirit to have experiences on this plane?
Spirit inhabits us. Spirit is the activity that it's just like back in the old days, there used to be the spirit of 76. And that's the oomph, the life that's given to something. So spirit moves through us for creation. And it moves through the mind, it moves through the individual, it moves through the world, it moves through our universe. It gives creation. And there's also in the original text, spirit moved across the face of the water and brought life. It brings something, it shares something. And the more we're focused on something, the greater the spirit moves through. Otherwise, we're in some sense wasting our time. Hey, Julie, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And so, the spirit brings life. But as we also, from a greater mind and from the mind of the world, we can even have something destructive happen through spirit if that's what we choose, but it's more work to do that, and it's like a delay tactic for us. So I prefer to use it in a constructive way. And my choice, it makes things easier in my life and helps me get through things quicker. And I'll write about this in the newsletter in a couple days. That a hobby I have is to go out. It's a brand new hobby to go out prospecting. I want to do this as it's fun. I get fresh air. I get to contemplate within myself. And I went with this other fellow. Didn't find anything, but still, I don't care because I got to go out. I got to exercise. And so I went out with this other fellow who's going to show me how to look for signs of rock formations and this and that. And I was walking in this creek with, and he was ahead of me, and I was trying to keep up. But the rocks in the water, in the stream, were, and there was a lot of water rushing through and stuff. And I slipped on some of the slime on top of one of the rocks, and I went down, and I fell on my left side, and I injured my kneecap. I think I fractured my rib, and just all kinds of things. And so, I knew I fractured it because it was labored breathing at the time. And so, and that's what's one of the signs are. And so through the impetus within myself, through the desire within myself, I'm in this place. Oh God, I can't do this, as far as hurting myself, what do I do? I'm this great healer, and here I am, on the ground. And then he turned around, he saw, because he heard the noise of my shovel and the pan that I had. And he turned around and he said, "Oh, my God, are you okay?" And I felt okay. And I got up. I didn't want to let him know that I was hurt, but I was able to get up, and because I wanted to keep on going. And so and I realized I didn't break my wrist. I didn't break my ankle, which was fantastic. It was just a knee injury and the rib. And so my hands were fully functioning and everything. So I got home that night. I bared it all, I bore the whole thing, the injury, and I didn't want to let anyone know. So I got home that night and started praying and praying and praying within myself to that divinity. And it took me time to go to that spiritual body within myself, and I watched it.
Did he start in like another hour?
I'm sorry? And I watched it, knead everything together without me being in the way. And this is the way healing works. And it was the next morning. I'm still sore a little bit, but it's nothing. And I know that's going to be gone. But the rib is much, much better. And normally it would take months, and also the kneecap is fully functioning now, even though there's a big black and blue around it, it doesn't hurt anymore. And so everything is fine, and I'm fine, and that will go away. And I have no desire to watch the blood that's creating all the black and blue in my knee to dissolve. It doesn't faze me. So we get to see these things happening, and it's carried by the spirit, though, the activity of the prayer. It's giving life to something. Does that make sense? Good, Michelle. Good. All right.
It was the apprentice's question.
I'm sorry?
The question was from the apprentice.
Oh, okay. All right. Does that make sense, apprentice? I hope so. I hope so. All right. And any other questions there that I can try to answer? I can't see the questions. Someone can read them off. For some reason, I cannot see the questions. I don't know why.
Mark, sometimes the screen just lets us see chat and participants and share screen and stuff. And if your cursor is in the wrong place, then you see all the Apple stuff or whatever your computer is. And you need to move your cursor just to make it show up again.
I see no question. I see nothing there.
I have a question.
Please, Mike.
You said with the injury you had that you prayed and prayed until you could feel everything neat together. Now, earlier, you mentioned that a desire from the heart to ask God to help.
Yes.
And would the prayers get to a point where you're continuing opening up your heart more and more until you get to a point where it's just everything? Is that sort of what's...
Yeah, what I do, me personally, and everyone has a similar process, knowingly or unknowingly, is say when the shock trauma hit me of what had happened. Then I went inside myself and I went to that, knowing that there's a divinity within me, that spiritual body that's a part of the mind of the godliness. And I say to it, help me, you know, and I'm watching, I have a vision of what help is, as minute or as major as it is. I watch it helping me of what my interpretation of help is. And I'm saying to it, all right, in that vision of what I have, knowing also that it's going to make it even greater than what I can conjure, what I can imagine or desire.
Okay.
It has a greater perfection. So I don't know what it is because it's much greater than I am. But I'm in wonderment. That's the neat thing. I'm not in fear because I'm going within myself. I start off in fear, but then I'm trusting something greater than me. And when we're trusting something greater than you, something happens where we're not in our emotional fear in that moment, if that makes sense. It's so quick, we don't even know. Less than a twinkling of an eye that it happens. Does that make sense, Mike and everyone, please? All right. Mike, question about that, please. Anything? All right. All right. Mike got kicked off there. Or he got insulted. Any other questions? Please, any other questions I can try to answer? Anyone?
There he is.
I'm sorry? What's Sue?
Computers don't like me.
Any other questions or comments, please? All right. So,
I apologize and I'm interrupting you. Please tell me about this chicken. When did you get it? The chicken that's right on your shoulder.
oh, that's Pachelbel.
I just needed to know, Mark.
It was given to me in Phoenix by some dear friends, The Apprentice and some other people, and it's great. And I call it Pachelbel because Pachelbel, I saw this one YouTube where this one person was broken up into 9 people of him. And they were actually playing the music Pachelbel and squeezing the chicken to perfect harmony to it. And so ever since, and I was telling people about it, I sent them the YouTube of it, and it turned, they thought it was funny too. I took it seriously though, you know, I like Pachelbel. And Pachelbel is one of my most favorite pieces of music. And so this person who split himself into 9 played it beautifully with the squeaking of the chicken. So it was, and so they gave me one chicken, and I've had it ever since. And
Beautiful story. I like it all the better.
So Pachelbel's there. And so now another thing I want to get into here, if there's no other questions or comments. Again, don't let anyone bring you into their world of emotional influence of some kind or control while you're working with them. It's not being subject to that, it's being subject to that divinity while you're working with them. When other thoughts even come to you, or you get an idea what someone else is going to say to you, or anything, don't. Just don't go there. Go back to the main focal point of going within yourself to watch that person feeling better. That's what's most important. That other person feeling better, being different than what they came to you for. And so don't get entrapped, because that's part of the mass mind of someone else wanting to stop you, or the mind wanting to stop you. The mass mind is the mind of fear, and it's going to try to control, it's going to dictate, it's going to make you think of things. Stop yourself. Go back to what you were doing. Every time you catch yourself, you have a million opportunities to do that. A million. And even that's a small number in life. So you have constant ability to keep going back and back and back to doing it. The more often you catch yourself going into that mass mind distraction, the less often that happens, and the more often yourself within will come forth and give you the guidance and direction, and will show you and to help you and move through you, if that makes sense. That's what you're striving for in life. That's why you're here, is to bring both those worlds together. And you being in control in yourself, otherwise the mass mind is. So what you're doing when you're in control, you're telling the mass mind, oh, wait over there, I'll be right back when I'm ready. And then eventually you're disciplining yourself and learning a truer way that will happen within you as you do. It comes to you more fluidly, more frequently. The source within. That's what you're striving for. That's why you're here. That's the purpose of so-called reincarnation, as we refer to it. It's to get to know ourselves. There's no other rhyme or reason of being here except to get to know ourselves. We're the ones who put the distractions in. We choose to. And it gets tough not doing it, but as we become more conscious, we're getting to know ourselves. And it gets simpler and simpler, and it makes more sense. So, another thing, and we're allowing the light to do it. The light is the carrier of that. It is the consciousness. It has a greater perfection that it knows and understands, greater than ours. But, and as I've expressed in the past, we have this thing within us, ourself, which is a cell within that mind of that divinity, that godliness, that has all the information of whatever we're into in any given moment. Unfathomable, unknowable is so much for every little particle. It emanates forth from us and shares with us in our mind, into our brain that we can decipher, and into out of our mouth and into our thinking, etc. It shares with us continually, and it's recognized that, recognizing ourselves into understanding that. Then that light that emanates from you, the light that emanates is dead light. There's one for you. It's really dead light because it's an emanation. It came from a source, but it's an emanation. The source is alive and constantly giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. And then that little particle of light that comes forth that has all this information, it dissipates, but it leaves an impression within us. And the emanations are like little porcupine quills that emanate from a light. No different. But it's dead light because it's already emanated, but the source is always emanating and giving more. I hope that makes sense. Any questions about this, please? Any questions? I can try to answer. Anyone? Anyone?
Has-
Michelle?
I apologize for just jumping in.
Oh, please do.
There are some people who say they've been to a lot of healers and have yet to be healed. And I do understand that some of us come here to learn something or to help other people learn. But have you ever run into those people other than the guy in the wheelchair that
What?
that came for a healing and didn't get healed, didn't get what they came for, or never?
Yeah, everyone has expectations. And the idea is to get rid of the expectations and not knowing. Because what happens, they may not have say if they came to you for something physiologically or biologically or neurologically or whatever, or chemically, biologically, then it may not have manifest to their knowing. But maybe it's something for them to have an experience where there's a change of life, a change of thinking, a change of knowing. Maybe the healing was for that. Or maybe to learn how to adapt to what they have and to live on. I've had people, I can give you countless examples, but I could say hypothetically someone with cancer. They were diagnosed with stage 4, told to go home and die within a couple weeks. And I said, fat chance. And as I worked with them, they still had the cancer. And I knew the person for months and a couple of years. They still had the cancer, but now they were living a full life. The cancer was literally arrested where it no longer, and it no longer, they still had it full, and it even grew into greater and greater because they took tests, and the cancer counts were beyond, they weren't fathomable. They weren't comprehended by the doctors. They couldn't believe it that they had the cancer. They're still alive with these counts that were just so amazing for someone to still be alive with this stuff. And they were having this great life for years. And so that happens too. I've seen that with several people for different situations. They still had the injury or the cancer, but it no longer affected them in their life, their bodies. And I've had other people say, and maybe some of others have experienced this too. We've worked with someone that we helped them to go through transition. That's fine. The death, that's fine. It's not a final death by any means. And that's fine. Or we help them to be at ease while they're going through that, or to help them have understandings about themselves and about their life and other people's lives as they're going through the death. Who knows? Who knows? Where is the right or wrong, good or bad in all this? There's not. There's not. There's a growth that's happening. There's an evolution that's happening. That's what's important. What did I call that? Oh God, let me see if I can find the sucker. I call, we have a traumatic growth in our lives, a traumatic growth in our lives. And we're always constantly dying. What are we afraid of? We're always constantly dying, and we're always constantly having traumatic growths. Oh my God. How incredible.
Thank you.
And it's lovely. It's beautiful, and yet we're afraid of death, but we're always dying. Why is that so? Because we're, I don't know, afraid of letting go of a refrigerator we just bought, or you know, or who knows what, you know. But it changes people. There's always traumatic growth happening. That's how we experience the enlightenment. What's there to be afraid of? What is there to be afraid of? Nothing that I know of for me in my life. Though at times, I go through the same things that everyone else goes through. So it's endless. And we're constantly evolving and live our lives in a different way after each traumatic growth. We're always growing, we're always developing, we're always becoming aware, we're always becoming enlightened. How else is there an enlightenment unless there's the growth, unless there's the death? We're always going through it anyway. Please, can I try to answer any questions about this? Anything?
My name's Mike, and
Yes, Mike.
Amy.
And what?
Anyways, that's how I introduce myself at an AA meeting. Anyway,
Hey, Mike. Hey.
over the years, there's 4 things that you've worked on with me. When I first met you, my back I had a really, really bad back, and you healed that. Another time I twisted my knees on the ice because everything was covered with a sheet of ice.
Yes.
You healed that. But then another time I separated my shoulder doing something really stupid, lifting weights. And I went to you, and it didn't change. It was the same. However, I figured, okay, I guess I got to do this. And so I'm friends with all these physical therapists, and I talked to them, and I did specific exercises, everything I can think of for my shoulders. And over a period of about 4 or 5 months, it got better than it was before I injured it. And it's never bothered me. And with the again, after you healed them, and I went to you, and the healing didn't make any difference. But what it turned out to be was that the muscles on the outside of my legs were stronger than the inside, and it was pulling my kneecaps to the side and causing all this irritation. And I learned that I have to keep them in balance now, and I do specific things. So everything worked out for the best, and it made me be more aware of who I am and what I am and what I got to do.
Yes.
And so I look at it all as positive.
Yes. And that's being positive is being creative. If we're being negative, that's being destructive. We have a choice in our life where we want to come from. And if we take the destructive, it's more difficult to live a destructive life than it is to live a creative life. But we don't know that because we're trying to get along in the world in our survivals.
Yes.
All right. I really want to thank everyone for being here. I'm totally honored. And let me see here. Don't forget the appointments. And tonight we have a healing circle. And please do take advantage of that. And also, please do take advantage of the gifting and supporting. Very important, not only for me and people that I'm involved with, but also for you. Because as you open up in your heart, that's everything. That's everything. It's for you. And there's no escape from that. So the appointments are available. I hope you enjoyed this. On the 30th, we have a Initiate Your Intuition, which will blow your minds away, as they used to say. And that's a workshop. It's on the, it will be more information put on about it on the website, either today or tomorrow, or the next day, whenever. And the Healing Circles, November 24th. Every Wednesday is a gathering. God bless you all. I hope you enjoyed today
Thank you very much, Mark. It was wonderful.
Thank
Good.
you, Mark.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Sorry I was late. I couldn't get on for 15 minutes. It wouldn't let me get on.
Yeah.
Watch the replay on this, hon.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Watch the All right, thank you for being here, everyone. I'm totally honored. Thank you so
Her
much.
too.
All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye now.